My name is Chris Auer. I'm a professor of dramatic writing here at the college. And, all right. For those of my students who missed class this morning, I'm sorry, but this was worth it, I think. I have the honor of introducing the first guy that's coming out here, and I wanted to come out and say something really nice about him. Scott Feinberg is a reporter for The Hollywood Reporter. And if you don't read his columns, you should. And if you don't listen to his podcast, you're missing a lot. And he's been a great friend of the college. He brings the docs to watch every year, which have been phenomenal this year. And he also does wonderful interviews with some of our special festival guests. And we're so pleased to, and I'm pleased to introduce him as a friend and as a terrific journalist. Would you please welcome Scott Feinberg from The Hollywood Reporter.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for coming out, and thank you, Chris. Today it is my great honor and privilege to welcome to Savannah, on behalf of everyone involved with the festival and the city, someone who at just 25 has already established himself as one of the greatest actors of his generation. I encourage you, there's a few movies that I think we've all seen. There's others that are worth taking the time to seek out. Just to mention a couple of things, he made his name in this business right off the bat in a movie in 2011. He played Moses, a resident of a South London housing project that's targeted by aliens, in Attack the Block, which is fantastic. Among the people who were blown away by his work in that was J.J. Abrams, who, not long thereafter, of course, cast him as Finn, a leading stormtrooper who becomes disillusioned and deserts to join the Resistance in 2015 Star Wars The Force Awakens, which received rapturous reviews and went on to become only the third highest grossing movie of all time. So you might have seen that. You might have heard of it. Now in his first major role since then, and last before another little movie comes out, we are seeing some of the best work he's done yet, and something that I know he's particularly proud of, which is why he's come across the ocean to join us here in Savannah. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope the Force is with us, but I know that a very special guest is with us. Please join me in welcoming the great John Boyega.
That was a good bloody freaking intro, man. Hi, everyone. You're right. Thank you. Now, sit down. Cool. Thank you. You lot relax, man. Just chill.
As you can see, they're a little excited to see you and have you here.
I'm surprised you're enthusiastic after.
I want to begin by reading you a few things that you've said about this movie, Detroit, that everyone's just seen. Quote, "This movie is far beyond anything I've ever done," close quote. Quote, "This was huge to me. To me, this is the biggest thing I've ever done so far," close quote. And quote, "It's the biggest movie of my career so far," close quote. So, to begin with, how did you wind up working with Catherine Bigelow, the first woman ever to win the Best Director Oscar? And also, and what is it about the experience of making it, the resulting movie, all of that prompts you to say such glowing things?
I think, first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me here. I think the first thing, it was just, Catherine has an outstanding body of work. I mean, Zero Dark 30 and The Hurt Locker, just to name a few of the movies that she's done that have obviously affected the world politically and had a big impact on our social construct. So for me, I wanted to be a part of a movie that explores the issues of race in a very factual but also a very dramatic way. And I just think she was the best form of collaboration. I never knew it was going to happen. I was looking for a film in a short space of time. I just wanted to pack my schedule for 2 years. And Detroit was just the perfect fit. And I ended up going to New York to meet her, to audition for it. And after the audition, I got the part, read the script, and you just knew that it was going to be something really, really big and impactful.
And as far as the main things you took away from the short time that because it was a quick shoot, right? I mean,
so it
just a
was
few, yeah,
It's a few weeks for me.
yeah,
It's a few weeks. For
and
me.
pretty tight budget. I mean, do you remember what it was? It was like not. This is not
I
Star
don't know.
Wars.
I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, it was bloody hell. It's not that film, but it's despite the budget, I think that you don't think about that on a Catherine Bigelow set, because the amazing thing she does is that as an actor, she kind of removes camera consciousness from you, so you don't know where the camera is at any given time. She was hiding cameras in walls and had the cinematographers in the most uncomfortable positions trying to get these shots. And we would just live and breathe and walk as these characters. In fact, she had 3 blocks of the street dressed and with cars from that era. So you really felt like you were there, and they would just drive in a loop. So you felt like you were in Detroit at that time. And something like that, it just removes the element of budget consciousness or any of that.
I think, unfortunately, most Americans don't know much, if at all, about the 1967 Detroit riot, let alone, certainly the Alger motel situation. So I wonder, in England, I can't imagine it's something that's that widely known either. And so for you, what was your, had you heard about it before becoming involved with this film? What was your education about it?
I knew about the Detroit riots in general, but I didn't know about this specific event at the Algiers Motel. I had no idea. So, but it was, most of us on the cast just, we didn't know. We felt a bit like, why? Even though it's highly documented, obviously it's seriously controversial and was one of the biggest, revolutions of United States history. And I think that, it's something that we kind of had to catch up on in terms of the research and the facts and to know what happened.
You're playing a real man who lived and lives, Melvin Dismukes. In terms of preparation beyond the script, were you able to spend any time with him, pick his brain, find out what it was like for him to go through all this?
Yeah, when I returned from New York to London, I think I was driving and Catherine called me and she said, "Melvin's on the phone." So I just pulled up, the person behind me, sorry mate, and then I picked up the phone and just spoke to him, and we kind of just got to know each other first. I didn't want to just ask him, okay, cool, who got killed first? Like, I wanted to just be a bit sensitive, and I just decided to get to know him as a person first. Just get to know his experiences, his childhood. He's a big community man. He's an introvert. That was one of the first things for me. Just hearing the way in which he's the tone of his voice as well. I knew that I would need to use a different register in my voice, especially for the accent. And the accent is so specific. And so it was those little notes that I got from speaking to him, and I always had access to him. He was like, "Dude, I know how this acting thing goes. However much you want me on set, I'll be there. If you don't want me there, I won't be there." So he was really flexible. I didn't have him there because, it's a sensitive subject. But yeah, I really learned a lot from him for this.
And I previously interviewed you about this stuff, and you mentioned something that just blew my mind, which was that he's been given, certainly since the release of the movie, but I think even before, there have been people that have been giving him a hard time about, you should have done this, why didn't you do this, how did you handle it? Yeah. How was that explained to you, and what do you make of that?
Yeah, it was funny because when we were doing the publicity for this, I didn't expect to get that question a lot of times. And as we went through the promotion, a lot of people were asking, "Oh, well, why didn't he do this and why didn't he do that?" And I just think that is just the effect of too many Marvel films. Like we're just watching too many superhero films, and we're forgetting about the reality of your existence. And for me, like before race, before any of those things, you're a human being, and the first thing you're going to go into is survival mode as a mammal. That's what's going to happen. And so I think I understood it more from that perspective rather than him getting the shotgun, putting it to the guy's head, and wanting to be Liam Neeson. That's not really what the deal was.
So the movie, I think, in the best sense, and I think that it's going for, feels like a pressure cooker and builds, and obviously, then what happens. But I wonder, with that being the story that you guys were telling, what was the mood on the set like? Could you actually just turn it off and like go play cards and drink, or was it just a sort of quiet set?
Yeah, I mean, most times it was very quiet, and we concentrated, especially the scenes that we filmed at the motel, because we filmed all of that in order as well, and it was about 2 to 3 weeks in that corridor. It was a long time.
But you're saying you filmed it in sequence, because that's an unusual opportunity.
Unusual process, but because of the just the emotion and the way in which it was, especially Will, Will Poulter, who's amazing in this film, who has to play an idiot, was put under stress a lot, and we would always check up on him because he's such a nice guy. It's hard to believe, but he's actually such a nice guy.
A fellow Brit, right?
Yeah, fellow Brit. He's a cool dude.
We contracted out our bad guys in this case. So I want to ask you about one of the most powerful scenes that you have to play, which is when all of a sudden the tables are turned on Melvin and he finds himself being interrogated for this. I understand that it was not, you were asked to do that a lot sooner than you anticipated, having to perform that scene, which is one that you would probably want to take some time to get yourself ready for.
That interrogation scene was my first week of filming.
And it was originally supposed to be...
You know what happened? It's so annoying. Like, I have to tell you guys this. Like, do you understand? I came onto set, and obviously I knew that hearing about Catherine Bigelow's representation, like her reputation, she does not play when it comes to preparation on set. So I obviously learnt all my scenes, which is great. But I didn't expect emotionally. I just hadn't been through the earlier scenes of Des Muke's life to kind of get me warmed up to that. And it actually happened because there was a technical difficulty in one of the rooms, and we were supposed to film a completely different scene. And what ended up happening was that this AC, this bloody AC in the wall, was making noise, so the sound guys couldn't use the room. So Catherine was just like, the only room we can use is this room, and the only scene we can shoot right now is the interrogation scene. Do you want to do it? And I'm kind of like, yeah, all right. And then when we got into the room, though, there was something about the way she set up the scenario. She made sure that there was minimal people in the room. The camera was set just at the corner. The cinematographer was just doing his thing quietly in the corner. I didn't even notice he was there. I was actually kept waiting as if I was in a real interview. So I was waiting there for a while, and I started to notice things like the handcuffs on the bar and the blood stains on the wall. And then that in itself, as an actor, obviously, it caused a response. And it was amazing what happened, because with the other detectives that came in, the images and the stuff that started to come into my mind when the tables turned on Des Muke's was the image of Trayvon Martin, the image of Sandra Bland, and all those people who died under the cause of injustice. And for me, it naturally made the scene what it was.
It helped you to bring out some emotion.
Just made it what it was. And at the end of the day, I was just like, Catherine, I don't know how you did it, but you're a bloody good director. Really good.
There's been a lot of think pieces written about this movie and about the making of the movie and every aspect of it, because I think it makes people uncomfortable, which is great if that's what a movie does, I think. I want to ask you about one topic that seems to have come up a few times, because I wonder what your take is. There are critics who are black and white who have suggested that the screenwriter, Mark Bull, and Catherine, as white people, maybe shouldn't have told this story, because in some ways, how can they understand it as well as a person of color who can kind of tap into it a little differently? What would you say to those people? Because I've seen passionate arguments on both sides of that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that too, and for me, I understand it. It's totally understandable. It's an understandable point to have, and I think that a lot of the times when I experience people expressing that opinion, it was quite respectful, and everybody's entitled to that. But at the same time, I feel like Catherine was in a position in which she didn't have to choose this film. She didn't have to choose this story, and according to her, it was not only a creative choice, but a moral choice, a responsibility, with her given platform. Being the only one in that realm, in that category to do that it would be impactful. And in watching the film, I don't feel like she exploited the story in any way. And, just in terms of the way she was on set, she asked more questions than she made demands. She was respectful and had the right team around her, because I can't lie, I was thinking the same thing slightly, because I was like, she better have some black folk around her when she on that damn stage, now goddamn. But she had the right people around her that were advising her and giving her intel and facts, and she was always open to listen. And I feel like if you are put in that position to do so, then you should do so. And she's done a fantastic job. So,
yeah. Who do you hope is? I mean, this movie's been rolling out for a while now already. So, I guess in some ways this question's been answered. But I mean, who did you hope would go and see it? Who do you hope will still go and see it? And what would you, if you could snap your fingers and have them actually take away something specific from it, what would that be?
I think everybody should go and see it. And I know it's a cliche answer, but I think it's very, very important. I think we're all being affected right now. We all had, a few years ago, we all had our personal bubble. We had our families, our friends, and an understanding of our perspective of our system. And now, since there's been political change, there's been so much controversy in what's happening with our industries, in our world, we're all affected by it, and it kind of is our mess to clean up. We all have a role to play, and no matter how small, no matter how big. So I feel like that motivation to brainstorm and think as into how your life affects this situation and this social issue is something that I want people to take away from it. And also at the same time, it's a story that's necessary, especially for young people, because anyone that's in their early 20s going through to like 30s, we are the next generation, and it's important for us to understand that in order to cure something, you kind of need to know what the root is.
Yeah.
And this film helps in brainstorming that conversation.
You said in another interview, quote, "All the films I've done have had a secret commentary on stereotypical mentalities," close quote. So is that purely coincidental that those are the projects that you've done, or do you think that you gravitate towards that material?
Everything I've done, I've chosen. I've never, growing up, I just, myself and my manager Femi, we always decided that we would try as much as possible to make my work a body of work, so that it all kind of made sense for the time, for the year. Star Wars for me was specific to something that I kind of understood and felt the need to be different and to take a stand in being different and to be okay with being different, even though everybody looks exactly the same. Something that was symbolic to me was Finn taking off his helmet, being the first official stormtrooper. To do that is something that felt to me, it did felt like there was a slight element of social commentary to that. And to be honest, the best sci-fi has social commentary. The best. E.T. and they all go in and touch on these subjects in a way that doesn't make it unbearable for us. And I think that's something I've always wanted to be a part of. You can watch something and be entertained, but it's also important in our day-to-day lives to just take a little something from it.
And the exciting news is that as of, I think, a year ago, you can now really, even more so than most actors, control what you are going to do and what you're not going to do, because and not only because of Star Wars, which people may be thinking is what I'm referring to, but can you explain what Upper Room Entertainment Limited is?
It's my company. It's my production company. Thank you. It's my production company. Upper Room was like birthed from my childhood. A lot of the, like when I was auditioning for Star Wars, I was still at home with my parents, and so I didn't tell them about it. And so it was a room to me that there was something significant about it. I felt like Harry Potter in the dungeon, when he's under the stairs. I felt like that for a while, studying and trying to get this acting thing to work. So Upper Room was birthed from the struggle of trying to get my foot into the industry, and Pacific Rim Uprising is our first project. A subtle way to start, but a good way nonetheless. And I'm really, really excited about what we're about to do next.
Because you can basically, what this means, if a lot of these folks here are in the business or want to be in the business, but for anyone who isn't, having your own production company essentially means you're going to pick your scripts.
Yeah, you get creative control. I mean, most actors, unfortunately, will have to wait for the phone to ring. But for me, I feel that there's much more of a time now to be proactive. And Upper Room is that significant. And I wanted to come on board as a producer for Pacific Rim because I love the franchise. I love Idris Elba, and it was a great way of continuing that legacy. And Legendary and Universal, they've been great collaborators. It's been really cool. Really cool.
Today is November 2nd. On December 15th, which is 43 days from now, not that anyone is counting, you have another little movie coming out, and I can't let you go without asking you, is there anything, just between us in this room that you want to tell us about Star Wars: The Last Jedi?
Yeah, I don't know if J.J. Abrams is... No, I'm super excited about that film. But I've been so fixed on Detroit, and we're still doing work on Pacific Rim, that I forgot about Star Wars. Like I really did. I'm so sorry. I forgot about it because I've just been on the go. Like I've been moving from country to country.
How long ago did you shoot it?
I shot it in like a year and a bit ago.
So
like
you
a
had
year
to
ago.
keep some secrets.
Yeah, a lot of secrets. But yeah, now it's coming back, and I can't believe it. It was the other day. It was the first film, and we were all just like, our lives is about to change. And me and Daisy were like, oh crap, they're gonna hate us. But it's good to know that we're coming back out, and the story is better. It's darker. Rian Johnson is just like, you just know when a director is making new risks when you see Lucasfilm officials sometimes having that drip on the side of their head, like, that's not in the universe, but okay. I love it. It's fantastic. I can't wait. You guys are gonna love it.
Just only one, I promise, follow up about that. I have to ask, I believe that, I don't know if it was through the first or the second of the films, but I believe you got to be pretty close with Carrie Fisher. And this is going to be obviously the first Star Wars that we'll see without her. And so I just wonder, any particularly special memories of her or working on this movie that you can share with us?
I have to go through the files. It's Carrie Fisher. And I mean, the great thing about this movie is that it's kind of split into two. You know, Rey is doing her Jedi stuff, and the Resistance is on its last legs, and General Leia, she is the only hope. And for me, I just think it's historical, it's heroic. There's some shocking moments as it pertains to her specifically. That just makes it a powerful way of just closing the curtains, and I think a well-deserved career. But I remember on Star Wars 8, Disney, whatever. I was supposed to be on a diet for the whole thing, and I was really hungry, and I wanted a Kit Kat specifically. You know when that happens, you just want one thing. You know, it's that one thing where it's just like that little nibble, and I go, yeah. And I was like to Carrie, I go, yeah, I'm supposed to be on a diet, but I want a Kit Kat. She goes, go to Billy. Billy's in my trailer. Have fun and enjoy. I was like, Carrie, I'm supposed to be all professional. She was like, you do you, John. You do you. I went in her trailer and I ravaged that whole fridge. It was ridiculous. Came out with crumbs, just Ryan, what's next? She's fantastic, though.
Well, we are so thrilled that you came, and hope that you get to see the city. And thank you on behalf of everybody for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Much appreciated. Thank you.